Welcome to the Banksia Brief. In today's episode, we tackle digital transformation in the aged care sector with Garcia, a digital project manager with experience working with the federal government and the Department of Health in projects of systems of compliance and complaints for aged care. I'd like to welcome Carlos. Welcome to the Banksia Brief.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for having me, and I expect to have a good contribution to your podcast.
Thank you. It's very, very good to have you here today. And I'd like, as I start all the Banksia Brief episodes with, is finding out a little bit about your background and how you started in the IT and digital transformation space.
Thank you very much. Well, it has been a long journey, almost 30 years working in technology with a technical background in engineering, computing science, and electronics. I've been combining a long journey in experience, knowledge, and studies. So I'm a project manager, business analysis. I have a level as the senior consultant in different areas. And I come up to giving and providing consultancy services over digital services all the time. It has been a common factor. No matter in these 30 years, I've been looking at a lot of changes in technology. It's a constant changes. In a calendar year, there are 3 years of technology, and it has been in a permanent change. And so currently we are living in a digital era. As a constant of that, then I've been providing consultancy on how to do changes, of course, with a purpose. And I will let you know through this conversation why is aged care and what it has to come to this situation. But just to give you a reference, I've been in processes of digital transformation for different organizations. So it's just to come up with these concepts. And in fact, I'm doing a specialization currently regarding how to improve this digital transformation, specifically for aged care.
Would you say it's a passion of yours? Would you say it's a passion, the IT?
Yeah, of course. Well, the thing is when you combine what you really like to do with a big purpose and the skills and the abilities that you got after working in technology for so long, and you find a passion on doing that, of course, the things go better. So I have the opportunity to work with different organizations in care, not only aged care, or social care, health care. So it's a common factor on what to do with the technology. That is my expertise, my area of expertise. And of course, I have a big element, which is the reason, and it's my parents. They live in the other side of the world, and using technology in 2015, it was my first approach to use technology for a common factor in benefit and taking care of my parents. So that's where it starts the passion about this.
Fantastic. The aged care sector is going through much transformation and change, especially with digital IT transformation. Why is it important, based on the Royal Commission recommendations, that why is this so important? Should be more to the question around.
Yeah. Well, the circumstances that is living, because there are different organizations, not only the Royal Commission providing advice and guidance in terms of what to do with all the resources that are with technology and what that transformation or digital transformation. When we talk about digital transformation, we talk about digital aspects. We are everyone, no matter what business, organization, even an individual is living digitally. They have their own digital life, but there are a lot of elements coming to that life. And in an organization, even more, because it's a control of communications, data, systems, informations, and actions. So having all that in a proper order, that's what the Commission has reached in order to provide a guidance based on the standards for aged care. So during 2 years, the Royal Commission was studying every aspect of having a new system, a new way of providing services in aged care. So in the areas of technology, there's a lot of variety of options, and every single organization was doing on themselves. So having a digital transformation, it has to have an order, a proper like steps to follow. And there will be some conditionals. So Royal Commission has established, not only them, but some others that I will give you a reference of some of them, but they're contributing to establish what it will be the rule to follow. And being in that standard and following that, that's what is important to do that digital transformation. Understanding that digital transformation is to use all the resources that we have digitally and put it aligned to central purpose.
It's sometimes interesting looking at the technology that gets put into aged care and whether the knowledge base is there for them to understand what they've currently got. It's really interesting to see that, you know, there's more and more organizations that are wanting to go and sell digital. They see aged care as a real area for growth for their businesses and the technology solution area. There are lots of people trying to go to the aged care sector at the moment. What advice would you give for this sector on the first steps before engaging a vendor?
Of course, I think engaging a vendor should be one of the steps at the end. Some organizations doing the other way around because they want to go to straight away a solution, and the people think that going to a solution, it will solve all the problems. But there should be a real process in order to do that. So my advice will be to live a very conscious process, and that process is a little bit of doing a background and analysis of what they got, bringing and adopting and having a proper consultancy or guidance in terms of that, compare with the standards, and after that come up to some specific requirements. With following that pathway, that steps of basic guideline, then there will be enough information to define what do really they have and can be utilized, and also what do they need. Combining those aspects and comparing with the standards, then we will have exactly what they will require. Every single organization is different. Even we have the same standards, they have their own reality, their values. So all the elements of strategically they got in their strategic plan, they will have to go and review it, come and try to align it with the standards, but from that combination, it will result in specific requirements. But it has to live like a process. It has to be understood. When all those elements are clear, then it will be possible just to look for specifically what they require. And for that, there will be like an instrument. There will be the list of requirements, and it can be done by a business analysis person or the same organization with the proper guidance in terms of providing them what is real required by the organization and leaving the cases of other organizations as well. So it's living a process, and into that process, it will be possible to determine what is required. At that point, then having clear what is required, come and take the value of the consultancy of the vendor as well. It's not to buy a software only, but because technologically, it could be not only the software, it's the operation, how IT impacts the OT. OT is the operation technology, how to operate with the technology. And having that combination, they will come up to a good result.
It's very interesting to look at different aged care organizations are on different journeys with their technology, and really understanding what you have at the start and building some sort of a roadmap that leads to the solution. It may be different solutions for different organizations, and it's not necessarily one sort of solution fits all. Would that be true?
It's ineffective. It is, and I think when we talk about technology, we don't have only to think about systems. Technology is in every single aspect of the life of the organization, and mostly in aged care. There are different areas, so it has to be as integral as possible. But if we focus in the standards that are the recommendations, that is data management and the integration and compatibility that the system should have with the information systems that the government already have, like my aged care, like the regulation system that the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission, for example, got. So it has to be integrated. My health record that's the other system that has to be integrated. And those are conditional. If we focus in those aspects of data management, then we have to follow a methodology, but we don't have to forget that there are some other technologies that should be aligned and integrated. It's not to create isolation or silos of information independently, but to have a central. And it's part of the strategic, and it's part of the concept that the IT departments of the organizations and the executives should have in order to understand what is the general scope and what would be the application of using technology. But yeah, starting with data, it's important to follow the procedure and process that I have explained.
It's a real interdependency, isn't it? Really, when you're looking at all the different types of information and data information that's available. You talked about My Aged Care and the other health records and dealing with My Health. The hospital, it's looking at streamlining so that there's a constant clear communication between the hospital and the aged care organisation, so that there's no mistakes made with the management of the health process in that space.
Correct. Sorry, that was an interruption. That's correct. There are three verticals that the Royal Commission, and in general, if you go to talk with any service provider, they would always say they are centered on the customer. And the customer has its own as a person, as a senior, because we are talking about, when we talk about aged care, we talk about always the person who is requiring and is the base of the service, which is the senior. The senior has to have resources in order to access that information that doesn't have to live in independent areas. Everything has to be integrated. And no matter what the elements are using from technology, it's just to have the base that how the users and the relatives of the user will have access to the information. And that will bring the integrability of the real and benefit use of that technology. When we talk about how can we use technology in benefit of seniors, we are talking about how can they have access to the information, no matter what device or technology aspects. And those are in aged care and healthcare, but all around the center, which is the user. And the user that would be providing the base of information. Let's talk about a new technology, for example, Internet of Things, which has some different sensors, and the people is just interacting in a common life, but they don't know that all that information is being captured by sensors. And that information can be taken to the cloud and be analyzed. And with that information, have knowledge of what are the habits and changes that will contribute on improvement of the well-being of that person without noticing. And that's the part of integration, but it has to be integrated to a single system and to having the infrastructure for communications, for example. Well, everything is interrelated and is integrated, but it's something that every single organization should understand and know what do they have, and then how can they use their requirements based on the scope that they define to finally create benefits for the senior. And in that way, they will be more efficient. They will have better and more customer and satisfaction, which is a big purpose.
And that's really about the ecosystem, the IT
correct
ecosystem, which you've just spoken about. It's making everything align so that the information is focused on that person-centered care, which is the focus of the Royal Commission recommendations, but it's also about the fundamentals of keeping good quality and safety and care in aged care.
Correct. When you use this expression, that was one of my first approach when I was working with a company in Europe. And Finland is one of the countries that have more evolutionated, but they have a big program called Europe, which is Active Age, using Internet of Things. And the concept of integrating so different sources of information, so different systems, that was to have everything in one platform. And it's an ecosystem, and an ecosystem will allow to include all the areas of person, software systems, data, all the elements that are around digitally existing around the well-being of a person with a senior in just one place. It could be, let's talk about, for example, music therapy. With music therapy, there will be access to having a cloud, all the music that person will bring good memories and make reaction and cause effects with the people mainly with dementia. You know, there is a rule that I learned while I'm doing a voluntary job, just providing companion to seniors. And I learned that the music that is learned from the 15 to 25 years old of a person makes connection with something that is inside that never will be forgotten. So that option reactivated, and having a technique into and as a part of the ecosystem, having access to that music, to that user specifically, so that the relatives can contribute and upload music and the user can see it. And their reaction will be in terms of the well-being of that person. So everything is interconnected and it's an ecosystem. But it could be also a physiotherapy, a person who's providing a remote through telehealth, remote sessions of physical therapies, and there will be a way. And definitely with new technologies, it's possible to come up to provide new and better service for that for these persons. But it's a complementary. There is something which is called the roadmap. The roadmap is something that we've been working with the Aged Care Committee of IT, which is an organization who debated in 2017 the first version of the use of technology for Australia. And I got that document. I will share it in the group. We have a group for digital transformation in aged care. I'm inviting and taking up advantage of this opportunity to invite to the community to be part of that group. And we'll post that document, which establishes clearly what will happen until 2040 in terms of how to use technology. And it was visionary aspects. And it was not only this organization, but it was AXA, LAXA, and the Flinders University, which established the roadmap. And it's also a guidance, part of the guidance to follow, just to have everything together.
So on LinkedIn, you've got a profile there around digital transformation. Do you want to just share with the people where they find that and what the name of the digital transformation site is on LinkedIn?
Of course, it's digital transformation in aged care and healthcare. It's a group in LinkedIn, and we will be posting in my profile and also as a part of the Soul IT presence. The link for having access. Our database is at about 3,000 users, so we are sharing with them and making bigger and bigger, but we are creating value. So probably we can send the link. They will have your contact details, and we can specifically send the link, and you will find information of value. This week, for example, not many people knows that there is an agency from government for digital transformation. So it established to define what changes in digital transformation, all the public services, and every organization will take benefit of it. It's just to know the access to it. For example, Digital Health is an organization from government as well, providing training and information, how the information should be connected to my aged care or the system, my record health as well. So it's important to be in contact, because one of the recommendations of the Royal Commission is to be integrated to the systems of the government, and that's part of the way that we have to.
I have a real feeling that with this digital change and transformation that's occurring in the aged care sector, there's going to be a real link and an understanding on what best practice is and the use of data. I think data becomes pretty important when you have everything working, and it allows you to make decisions based on a past experience or information that can be shared. What's your thoughts on that?
Of course, who has the information has the power, and having the power of doing what they consider it would be better. In this case, it would be the power to improve the service for seniors. If you know more about that person only not only about his health, it's the record, the medical record, but also what does that person likes, what happened in the whole record and history. And it's because probably the carriers, the service providers, they don't have the whole track of information of that person. And if they got, and I have lived it in my personal case, when I go to visit these people, they don't have the knowledge of what they got, and they have the system information, and they could see it in a screen or in a dashboard. Then it will see what is the behavior and what that person really likes and how to cover, or if he had a problem or she had a problem in a previous year. So it's all having that information and giving with the proper access, which something which is important is the privacy. This with another conditional of the standards. So it will have a specific and very secure access to that information. But with that information, that will be possible to provide better services. And that's the benefit that we should have to look for.
That can only make aged care better, I believe, if it's working and it's aligned and it's connected in such a way. Just with your consulting that you do with SSOL IT, what are the key consulting support you provide to help with aged care providers and ultimately their residents and consumers and families?
Okay, well, what we are offering or what we can provide is a whole process of consultancy. That would be to make a self-assessment. So we provide and make an investigation of what the user or possible aged care service provider got. In such way, we make an investigation process. We establish what will be the best perspective or actions to be taken into aligning into the strategic and having in mind all the regulation and standards defined by the Royal Commission and in general what is living this environment. For that, we create like a document of analysis of the requirements and standards of what they got and what they don't have. When all this is combined, then we are able to not only evaluate, but establish a plan to create a small road plan that it will be aligned with the big road plan to provide as a guidance. What we are offering is to work with the team, with the IT team, for example, if they got, with the executive team, in order to provide an open options for them to be more effective and efficient using what they got and to realign what it should have. When it is, we create a deliverable that it will be a document in order to go, for example, to the vendors. We have to be brand agnostic in terms of software agnostic, which will be the best. It just depends on every single case. We have been investigating some of the providers and which offer better and more conditions, so we can give small recommendation, but it's more important to leave and to support the organization to do a good selection. And with that, we will do the companion to them to follow in a specific milestones or if they are going in the right pathway until we got to success or the best options of employment technology, not only for data, but also in other technologies that is possible to use in aged care.
Terrific. Just with the latest technology that's occurring all over the place with regards to assisting keeping the elderly community in their homes longer, what area, what understanding do you have of that, and can you share some of that information?
Yeah, of course. Well, initially we have to be conscious that when we talk about digital, everything's moving in the cloud. So cloud technologies is something that should exist as an infrastructure, just to have infrastructure as a service, software as a service. So that infrastructure has to be in the cloud. So hopefully the organization has that functionality. If they don't have, there should be a recommendation who will be the best platform. It's not only depending on the application of software, but cloud is one of the aspects. It opens and gives the platform to work with Internet of Things. That will be another element, is the use of Internet and connect what is not connectable normally to Internet to gather information from, I'm talking about sensors,
Yeah.
not invasive, not invasive sensors, movement, fall detection. It could be inclusively wearables, biosensors, temperature meters. There are some platforms that are in the bed or at the entrance of the bathrooms or in the electrical outlets. So everything is just collected information, and the people, they don't know what's happening, but all the information is taken just to know they have it. The other element
to keep them safe as well, I would suggest.
of course, it's security. Of course, it's security, and it's reaction. It's just to have an immediate alert, just to have like an action for the carers or for the health care service provider. And if it is a change in the bio organ, if they have problems, for example, with the blood pressure or the breathing or the temperature, then it will be advisable, it will be detected, and it will be alerted without pushing any button. It's just happening automatically. The other thing is, and it's one of the biggest problems that is happening, because people will live longer and longer through the time, and there will be less and less people taking care of them, and it's part of the big problem. So I'm talking about isolation. So one of the elements in technology is the social robots. Social robots are coming, and commonly are, they are calling initially chatbots, which is just to have a conversation using artificial intelligence. Those machines, which are computers, are learning about the personality of the other person, and it's just to have a fluent, normal conversation, and it creates isolation. And think about it, they integrate all the knowledge of that person, then there will be a good companion. There's different videos and
No,
cases.
it's sort of like, sorry to interrupt. It's sort of like an Alexis for people at the home, but a reactive artificial person on that end that
correct
have a conversation with you and basically be company. It's quite interesting, and you, again, you touched on a really important thing. Isolation and loneliness is massive and especially when people are trying to stay in their homes longer. They don't necessarily have the family. Some don't have any family at all. So to have something like that would be probably give them a sense of, at least they've got a level of company and an opportunity to converse and
correct. One of the aspects, because the people, when think about technology, they say that it's far away and it's not friendly and it's not easy to use. But you have mentioned one of the easiest case, Alexa or Google Home or another interfaces that are a reality currently. There are instruments that can be used. We don't need to invest in a big robot. It's possible to do with that kind of appliance that are more and more easy to find in the homes, and they will be established. It's just to capture the proper information. And there's some developers that are creating interfaces for those devices, for Alexa or Google Home, to provide an interconnect cameras or sensors or security alarms, or the elements take an action when something happens. So there's a sequence of elements. So it's part of the artificial intelligence, and it's slowly coming to the standard, common and low cost accessories. I would say the other is any device. It could be a tablet or a computer, will be the door to have telehealth, for example, access to this kind of video conferences, and also connections and appointments with doctors, with service providers, inclusively. The therapies that I was talking about before is just to have a terminal. It could be a specialized terminal, but it could be a tablet as well. It's just how to integrate and to put it in function. Many, I would say, well, many of the service providers in healthcare, they have problems to use a tablet, and they use a tablet for different purposes. But there will be an option just to specialize. It's just based on the strategic, on the plan. But there will be coming more and more options and solutions.
Oh, it gives them a sense of security as well, because if worse comes to worse, they know what to do as far as pressing communication, getting direct contact with people. And that's got to be give people a level of comfort, especially families that live far away, or these people that want to continue to live in their home, similar to my mother, who's 76, still living in her home. but yeah, look, I totally agree with you there. Just before we finish up,
Yep.
and thanks for your information, Carlos. It's been invaluable. But what are the three key takeouts from our discussion today you think aged care organizations should use as a starting point?
Okay, I will say the first one is coming to the roots, to the basis of the organization. It's coming back to the strategic plan. Within the strategic plan, it would be possible to modify it, to adaptable, or just to revalidate what they have considered as a concept of the organization. And of course, focusing in areas of information technology. So it would be a section specifically. Second one, it will be to allow someone to provide guidance. It's not, because some of the things that I have found in the aged care service provider, nursing homes, and on big, middle-sized or small organizations, they consider they can do it on themselves. And they consider they are able because they have an IT person or team, but they don't look around that they're more experienced all around. And that's the purpose of having consultants, is just to establish like a guidance and trying to be effective. And the most important one, and the third one, is to take action. In order to take action in the areas specifically in a proper order, then it will happen then in July 2022, when there will be a deadline in terms of adopting and integrating the system. And there will be an instrument for the organization with a commission to help them out. There will be a due date in July 2023. And at that point, everyone has to be ready. But if they haven't started from now, there will be an issue and problem. So the moment is now. So these are the 3 points. And I hope it can be useful for all the audience.
No, I think it's very sound advice, given the changes that need. And you're right, there are a lot of people have their own IT, but sometimes it's there's a level of bias towards what they're doing, and it's okay to say we're not sure. We need some advice. We need independent overview. Sometimes that provides great direction and fast tracks a lot of things that would probably take a long time to get through. So I agree with all of the above that you've said. Look, thanks a lot for your time, Carlos, today. I really appreciate it, and it's fantastic. I will disclose that I am working with Carlos. We are providing digital solutions via Banksia and SSOL IT. So he is the top of his game, and he's a gentleman that I'm very happy to be working with in that transformation stage, and obviously transforming aged care into an aged care sector that we can be proud of is really the important piece. So thanks again, Carlos.
No, thank you very much for having me.
It's been great to hear about the amazing things happening in the digital transformation in the aged care sector, and the help and advice from Carlos and SSOL IT, along with Banksia Consulting Group. You can check out SSOL IT through www.banksiaconsultinggroup.com or via the LinkedIn site where Carlos is, and also the digital transformation platform group that he has set up, digital transformation for aged care and healthcare. It will be the great way to get in touch with him. So I want to thank everybody for again joining us for this third edition of the Banksia Brief. Hopefully it's been informative. Banksia Group Consulting Group is proud again to be partnering with SSOL IT on the journey of digital transformation in the aged care sector. So thanks again for joining me and joining everyone on the Banksia Brief. And until next time, take care and be well.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.